Garcia, we were calling you before. Michael Nowak, page 27M.
Good morning, Honor. Nicole Garcia on behalf of the state of Florida. I apologize, I had a couple of calendars this morning.
That's fine. Let me get to the page, 27M. Okay. Who is counsel for Mr. Nowak?
David Terrace on behalf of Michael Nowak.
Okay.
And my partner, Betty Ross, is also present on behalf of Mr. Nowak, and Mr. Nowak is present via Zoom as well.
Morning, Judge.
All right. What is this on for? It says motion to increase bond.
Yes, Judge, I did not file a motion. So what happened in this case, Your Honor, is that this is a media case. He was arrested for punishable by life crimes. He should have been held no bond. However, this is one of those charges where the PBL comes in at the very end of the charge, and I think the clerk's office made an error, allowed him to bond out prior to seeing a bond appearance or prior to going to bond hearing. Somehow I think he was given standard bond of $21,000, $10,000 on count 1 and count 2, and then $1,000 on count 3, Judge. My issue, Judge, is that there's no stay-away order on the case yet. That's why Your Honor asked the defendant to be present. I also am very concerned that the defendant has been essentially terrorizing the victim. I mean, the victim's 14 years old, and there's been a lot of...
Since the arrest?
Since the arrest, Judge. He's been very communicative on, he's been very vocal on social media, on, there's been videos of the victim drugged by this defendant leaked online. Your Honor, on this case, we do have DNA showing that the defendant's sperm was on the victim's clothing.
Your Honor, may I ask why any of this is appropriate, considering no motion has been filed?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't like being ambushed with all of this. This is...
Nor do I, Your Honor. This is entirely inappropriate.
If, in fact, the state was seeking a motion for pretrial detention, they should have done it. I mean, now, as far as the stay-away order is concerned, I can certainly do that. But I just can't go ahead with allegations from the state without giving notice to the defense. I mean, certainly I would hear it, but I can't do this in a vacuum like this. So the only thing that I know that this was reset for, which was advised to me the last time, is that the stay-away order was not properly presented, and I'm ready and able to do that at this time.
Judge, you are the first appearance, Judge, regarding the information that was filed, Judge. He was charged with a total of 6 counts, Judge, and they're different. They're all different from the charges, except for one.
Again, Your Honor, excuse me, I have to interrupt. This is entirely...
Hold on. Mr. Terrace, hold on. Let her finish. Just let her finish. I'll allow you to make your argument. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. He has been charged with 6 counts. One of them is the same, but there's 5 additional counts, Your Honor. Your Honor does have to set bond on those counts. And then the stay-away order has to be set. I will be filing a motion to increase bond. And I understand that Your Honor does not want to be ambushed. I will file that at a later time, but I did want to put the court on notice that with regards to the other bond amounts that need to be set, Judge.
All right.
So we definitely have to address bond.
Okay. Now, did you have a response, Mr. Terrace, and then I will deal with the information?
Yes, Your Honor. We don't. There is no motion pending before the court. The state. No one, our side certainly did not ask for a schedule bond. That was something that the state of Florida decided to place on this case. Those charges were higher charges, and they were downfiled. Doesn't matter that there was more charges that were listed on the information. These are downfiled charges. Mr. Nowak is out on constitutional bond. There's no motion pending before this court, and there's no need for Ms. Garcia to just ambush us with additional information that she feels the court and the media in her speak should hear. So we are entirely prepared to address a motion that's before us. Not another word needs to be said regarding a motion that's not pending before this court. We do and are prepared to address the no contact situation today.
Okay. Now, first things first. First thing I have is I have an information that's been given to me by the clerk that was filed on September 14th, which was 3 days ago. And again, I have many cases on my calendar. Has this defendant been arraigned on this information?
He has, Your
Honor. He has, Judge.
He has. Okay, so he has been arraigned, and I am looking at, there are a total of 6 counts. I, at this point, do not see that there are any non-bondable offenses. And there appears to be a second-degree felony for count 1, second-degree felony count 2, 3 is also second-degree, 4 second-degree, 5 is a first-degree misdemeanor, and 6 is a third-degree felony. So, have all of the bonds been addressed at the time of the arraignment?
No, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, well, that's what we need to do as far as that is concerned. And I will, what was he out on previously? Let's just start with that.
He was out on count 1 and count 2 for $10,000 each. And then count 3 on the information was a misdemeanor, so that was $1,000. So right now he has a total of $21,000 bond.
Okay, so 1 and 2. So what was added in the information?
So the counts 1 through 4 are all second-degree felonies. Those were not on the information on the.
Were not originally charged?
Correct. Also, Judge, count 6 is interference of custody. That one also was not charged. Count 5 was charged as count number 3 on the arrest form. So that one should stay $1,000.
So then what was the original 10,000? If you're saying that 1 through 4 was not charged, and then 6 was not charged, then what was the original charges where he got the two $10,000 and then $1,000?
So the original charges was count 1 was engaging in sexual activity with a child and familiar custodial authority. That was actually a PBL, but that charge, when it's input into the arrest form, it looks like an F1. So on that count, he was given $10,000. Then on count 2, it's sexual battery of a victim 12 to 17 years of age. That's an F1. That was another $10,000 bond. And then count 3 is count 5 on the information.
Okay. All right. So as it relates to the new information, the court is going to, on count 1, the defendant will be given a bond of $10,000. On count 2, defendant will be given a bond of $10,000. On count 3, defendant will be given a bond of $10,000. On count 4, defendant will be given a bond of $10,000. On count 5, that will be a $1,000. And count 6 will be $5,000 bond. All right, does corrections have that? Well, clerks have that as well?
Yeah, I have it. Judge.
Okay. So he is going to need to post those additional amounts. If it was $21,000 originally, it's now going to be
46.
$46,000 additional bond. That's as to that issue. Anything further on that issue, and then we're going to get to the stay away order.
So, Judge, I do think it's important to note that he is a California resident. So I would ask that Your Honor consider that when setting the bonds. Are these standard bonds, Judge?
I do not know what is considered a standard bond on these, but these are the bonds that the court's going to be giving.
Okay. So, no, Judge, I'll be filing a motion to increase bond due to the facts of the case. The other, in addition to the bond, Judge, it's just a stay away order I think that we need to address today.
Understood. All right, anything further from the defense as to the bonds for right now?
Your Honor, I don't see that the state has laid any grounds for why the bond amount should be increased. We
Well,
believe
we're not
that
there yet. We're not there yet. There's no discussion right now. That's not what's before the court. The court just is setting bonds on the new counts.
these counts are down filed. I just want to make that clear from the record, even though there's more of them.
Understood.
So but we would object to the entire bond amount increasing, considering these are down filed charges.
Okay, the objection is noted.
Other
Now-
than that, no, Your Honor.
All right, as it relates to the stay away order, okay, so apparently these are minors. If I can have the defendant sworn.
Mr. Noah, can you unmute yourself?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, sir, you can put your arm down. Can you tell me your full name and your date of birth?
Michael Eugene Note Jr., born August 10th, 1983.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, so you are currently charged under case F21 14438 with several counts involving a minor victim. And the minor victim is identified as T like Thomas, S like Sam. Do you know who that is? All right.
Yes.
Sir, you are ordered that you can have no contact with TS. And when I say no contact, that means no direct contact or indirect contact. Indirect contact includes you cannot communicate with this individual via social media, you cannot call, you cannot text, you cannot reach out to this individual or in some way attempt to communicate through a third person. Do you understand that, sir? All right, now,
Yes, I do.
I will just advise you and admonish you, this means what it says. I do not know whether or not you were given any type of a stay-away order, but as of right now, this stay-away order is in effect, in that if you violate any terms of this stay-away order, that may be grounds for your bond status, your pretrial release status to be revoked, and you will be immediately taken into custody. Do you understand that, sir? Okay,
Yes, I
anything
do.
further on that issue from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything further from that issue from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, that is all that the court has before me. Are we done? Ms. Garcia?
I believe so, Judge. I just want the defendant to be aware that he should not be posting any social media posts or anything about this case, about the victim in this case. I know that there was a video of the victim leaked on social media. I'm concerned about the victim's, well-being regarding this case. So I just want to make sure the defendant's well aware that if that happens, we will be filing the appropriate motions to avoid that from happening.
All right, well, just
May I
so
respond,
it's
Judge?
clear, just so it's clear, I just want both sides to know, allegations are allegations. I certainly will respond to some type of evidence shown to the court that the defendant has somehow violated the court's order. Now, let me hear from the defense.
Judge, I just want to make clear for the record as well that this arrest, Mr. Nowak has been compliant and has known about this investigation for far before his arrest, has come down and voluntarily submitted 2 warrants along the way because he has nothing to hide. Any allegations that the state is making about their fear that he might have been tampering or attempting to scare the alleged victim via social media, there's no order saying that he is not allowed to use social media. And I also would like to make clear that it took the state till 4:56 p.m. on the night before the arraignment to file an information here, and a reduced one. If they were so scared, they had ample opportunity to file a motion in the meanwhile, and they failed to do so. So I don't believe that Your Honor has taken into consideration any of the arguments that they've put forth regarding why they believe bond should be increased, because that's inappropriate.
We're not there. I'm not even entertaining it. So let's not even. I don't even want to hear anything about it because nothing's before me as to an increase.
Well, Your Honor has the ability to set the additional counts at ROR.
Well, I'm not. I can tell you I'm not. Based upon the only thing I have in front of me is an information. That's what I've decided as far as the bond is concerned. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
Well, we would object to Your Honor taking into consideration any of the statements made by Ms. Garcia in reaching that determination.
Okay. Now, however, I do need to just advise Mr. Nowak, based upon some of the arguments. I don't know what is out there that has been posted, but I will advise Mr. Nowak that if in fact there is evidence shown to the court that you have somehow been responsible for submitting some type of social media involving this victim, you may have a First Amendment right, but it is limited. And if the state can show that this was done with some type of intent to either harass or intimidate a witness, that's serious. So just keep that in mind. You certainly have a First Amendment right, but if you do something that in somehow is intended to intimidate this witness, then the court will listen to what the allegations are and what evidence the state has presented. I think that can be the last word on this matter. I have a December 3rd report date. What is that on for?
I believe that was just for the status, Your Honor, case disposition, regular.
Okay, perfect. All right, as of right now, that's the next date that we have on this case, okay? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Professor Carl Tone Jones, Patrick Irvin. We are here breaking down this Brother Polight situation. And how did we get here? Just going over everything that comes with Brother Polight and seeing the impact that it has had on our community, whether good or bad. So this was clipped from a bond hearing. But within the bond hearing, we did hear the prosecutor talk about the evidence, the physical evidence that they had, the DNA evidence that they had from him, and we all have seen plenty of videos and read information about this case, about Brother Polight and his SA allegations against the daughter of the young lady he was dating at the time. The young lady, from my understanding, the daughter is a 14-year-old young girl at the time, and Brother Polight was able to get the young lady by himself, according to the allegations, and introduced alcohol into the situation, used that, and the essay happened, and the mother called the police and everything we have from here. I've even heard a audio from the mother speaking out about what has happened and the impact. And of course, we're not investigators, and so we don't have all the evidence and all of the information, but we do have information. And just want to dive deep into it, but dive deep into Brother Polight as a whole. Because how did we get here? So PC, I'm sure, start with you. I mean, you know more about the brother than we do. I'm sure you out there a little more than we is. So you done seen the brother. I'm sure you bump shoulders with the brother. So, like, first of all, before we get into him as a whole, what are your thoughts about this case, this video we just saw, just everything that's surrounding this case?
Well, first we have to use the word alleged, that's reliable.
Allegations. Yeah. Alleged allegations.
There's no way around it. This is horrific. Because I remember when Tasha K first broke the story, and the shit sounds so crazy. I said, well, hold on, let's wait until all the information comes out, before, because she was already in trouble with the Cardi B situation for falsifying or making false statements. But the more that came out, the more and more came out about this. This is sick. To have a grown man parading a 14-year-old, allegedly parading a 14-year-old around town. I believe this happened in Miami. So to have her parading her around town and you going into these abandoned buildings and things of that nature, the girl's mother had no awareness of where her daughter was all this time, and her herself, I believe she was being courted as a wife for Polight at the time. So, I mean, this is just like, this is cultish type weird. You know what I'm saying? The way that it all unfolded, just based on what we know. There's no defending Polight for any of this, because you put yourself in a bad situation to be just alone with a 14-year-old girl throughout the wee hours of the night. And, for the evidence of, the fact that they found his fluids on her clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just no way around it. You know what I'm saying? This is sick. And you know, I hope, like, well, first and foremost, that the fact that there's such a low bond really speaks about how much this system cares about black girls. Because you know, if she was a white little girl, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have made bond, let alone has such a low bond to deal with. You know, the system is not a friend of black people. Definitely not a friend of black children. To sit back and just listen to that hearing, and then you know, and I'm a all right. So I'm gonna get into how I know of Polite, because I don't know the brother. All
Mm-hmm.
right, we didn't even use the word brother when we talk about him at this point. I met Polite in 2013 as security at Black and Nobel, at the Black and Nobel bookstore, because um, my good brother Hakeem Hopkins, who ran the bookstore, Polite would come down a lot. So that's how I met Polite. And I would listen to him talk about status correction and all this other stuff, and being a sovereign citizen, and you know, maritime laws and things of that nature. Which,
But we're gonna get
okay,
we get into that.
So, in fact, if you go back to some of Black and Nobel's, if you go back to 2013, there was a debate between Polite and Tazariot of the ISPUK, I believe
Yeah,
is
yeah.
second
I
of
know
the,
IU whatever. Yeah.
of the Hebrew Israelites. I was there. I literally broke up a fight between Polite and another brother that was there, who was emceeing the program that night. So that's pretty much the extent that I know Polite. Other than that, I want to make this clear. I have no relations with that man.
Yeah,
None.
I didn't. Yeah, to make it clear, I'm not saying I didn't. The way I set
Right.
it up, I ain't saying like they
Right.
homeboys, but I just know he knows
Yeah.
more about Polite than
Yeah.
we do.
So I just wanted to make that point clear, because you're right. I have been out there, and I know, or I've been I've been in a lot of circles where these people live, these people be. So I mean, but I just wanted to be clear, because I don't want any affiliations with that man or any of this shit that's going on right now.
Mhm.
Um, you know,
This, yeah.
can't can't defend any. First and foremost, I love children. I love black children. I'm actually wearing a shirt right now. Um, the young man named Gerald Sack, right? This young man, his mother was a student in my class. This young man was murdered on his porch while his father was trying to get him in the house, because some young hoods pulled up on his porch. So they created the Gerald Say Defenders Foundation. So basically, this is a program about protecting our children in our community. So, and that's pretty much the biggest aspect of anything I've done in this place, in this space. So when I hear about somebody harming a child, it actually feels personal. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, children children need to be defended and protected. And as black men, our job, our primal job, our primary job is to make sure that children are protected. You know, women and children, if we can get on page with the women, but the children are, they're innocent in this situation. And I feel like when you violate a child's innocence, the punishment needs to match the crime. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Leave it at that for now.
This is not a good situation. It's not a good look. It's not a good legacy. It's not good energy. None of this is good. It's another blow to the conscious community. It's another blow to the guess you could say the educators, the scholars. Like Pat always talking about how people have to pay the ones who come after have to pay the tax for the bull that the people before them did. And this is going to be another thing that a lot of good people are going to have to pay taxes for, because a situation like this exists surrounding somebody who have had such influence, especially on the conscious community. And from my understanding, when I was doing as much research as possible for this and see how much information was out there, I've watched a couple of different videos, and I've heard people talking about there are men who are, trying to defend him and his actions and everything. And of course, we don't have the evidence with us to present, but we do know the evidence that has been presented. And we just saw this. We just saw the clip, and you see the prosecutor talking about the charges and the evidence that they have. So that's why I wanted to show this clip, because we're not making that up. That comes from the prosecutors. And so now, of course, everything has to play itself out. But the fact that all of this is happening is bad news, and especially with somebody like Polight, who I'm gonna be honest, I never really listened to Polight. We've had these conversations for years. Pat and I, we've had these conversations for years. I never gravitated toward him, his talking points, his movement, anything like that. Intuition tell me no, I listen to my intuition. But that aside, that has nothing to do with how I'm looking at this situation, because I want to make sure that we look at this situation not from a feeling-based standpoint, but from a realistic and a evidence-based and academic standpoint. Because how this plays out affects the community. What has happened so far affects the community, whether positively or negatively. And as people who talk about building up the communities, people who talking about being conscious, being awakened, being aware, knowing what's going on, we can't have anybody in the community trying to harbor somebody who that character is questionable right now, especially because of the evidence that the law have. So, Pat, what's your thoughts on this, man?
PC, you were finna say
Oh,
something?
my bad.
No. Well, no. We'll get into that. Because Judge mentioned something, about how, Polight was, he was a polarizing figure for a long time ago, and I was going to get into that. But no. Go ahead, bro.
I think people, this is another one of those, when we're talking about it from the standpoint of what you guys were just mentioning about how people are, circling the wagons and stuff. This is another one of those goalpost moving situations.
Mm-hmm.
Because first off, let's address this before anybody else tries to undercut anything we say going forward. We understand what the lady was doing in terms of presenting information that was not needed nor helpful for what they were at court for in that moment.
Right. It was a bond hearing.
Right. It was a bond hearing. So we understand exactly what she was doing in terms of presenting this information to sway public opinion or to, do anything like that. That's not the issue. And for you to make that the issue is for you to show how little value you place in the children of the community. The fact of the matter is disturbing because she even has that evidence to use in that way. The fact that the state even has evidence where they can say we have this man's fluid on her clothing, that statement should not be able to be made.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Without it being a bold-faced, stone cold, plainly viewable lie. Now, again, we don't know if it's not a lie because all this is alleged. But what I will say is, for them to be presenting it the way that they're presenting it, with the veracity, the tenacity, like they've been strong on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard for me to believe that they don't actually have it.
Right.
So this is not, for me, this is not about because I know when you start talking about Polight and all these other guys, you start getting into, we start talking about the sovereign citizen movement and all that. You start getting into word games. Everybody start playing Scrabble. So I just want to take that off the table, right off the board, because they'll undercut the argument by saying, yeah, but legally on Article 465 of Code 2468, according to the Geneva Convention of the aliens from Mars that came with Yakub, that wasn't even permissible. And you'd be like, first off, don't none of that even mean shit. But second off, it misses the entirety of the point. The point, and then you have the other argument of people that would say, well, yeah, but why did the mother give it? That's beyond the point too. Like, I get it. If you want to make that argument that the mother shouldn't have trusted a man to be alone with her baby, I'm not even gonna argue that with you. But that's not the issue at hand, because I'm a trustworthy person. I've been left alone with plenty of people, and I ain't never done nothing to nobody.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, people do have to take that into account. Even the fact, like you said, the fact that they can even make the statement that allegedly they have his DNA on this young lady clothes, or this young lady had scrapes, bruises. Because allegedly he assaulted her, as far as punching her in the face or assaulting her in the face or different things like that. So I mean, it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist. But now we do know that because some people are gonna play on the history of the black man and black men being blamed and all these things. That everybody's taking that into account. Everybody's taking that into account.
Hold on, Joe, but real quick, right? Like, let's talk about the history, right? Historically speaking, most of the people from the camp that pitch the things that are pitched by this camp have been brought up and recognized as people that shouldn't be trusted with children. Am I like, correct me if I'm wrong? Now, if I'm wrong, I want to be corrected now.
And you say some of the people?
No, I'm saying a good chunk of the leaders from this train of thought that Polight comes from, they have gotten in trouble behind minors.
Yeah.
So if we want to talk about the history of the government railroading black men, okay, let's talk about the history of this camp railroading black children.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm done. Go ahead.
No, you make a good point. The track record definitely trends towards what you just said. I'm trying not to get those channel shadow banned again. But
thank you for mentioning that, because I had forgot.
No, that's cool. But it's there, and this is when you have cult leaders, because this is what I was going to say earlier. Because Polight had become a cult leader, at that particular time, especially like I said before, I was hired as security. You know what I'm saying? Because when you have people who rise to that certain level of notoriety, then you also have to make sure that when they come to your spot that you're not that because people would literally show up that wanted not only to debate, but they would show up wanting to put hands on people. So, but his notoriety came, he became one of those people that was really integral in creating those debates in the Harlem Theater in New York and on 125th Street with Sinetta. So, I'm not dragging Sinetta into this. I'm just saying this is how he rose to
A
fame.
lot of people know him. Yeah.
Right, right. So this is where his popularity comes from. And that following, I mean, when the man came to Philadelphia, he would be surrounded by beautiful women who identified as his wives. And that type of allure. And then when he would start talking about this whole status correction, this sovereign citizen movement and maritime laws and all that other stuff, people would be allured to it because they would look at his lifestyle. Man, he pulled up in 3 SUVs, brand new SUVs. The way they moved and throughout the crowd, the way the women would move. And that was one of the biggest draws. So it was just very interesting to watch it work. I could never get into it because I learned a long time ago when people talk too fast for you to listen and they kind of say something that ain't meant for you to hear. Man, so I could never get into that status correction shit because, I mean, look at it now. I mean, where is the status correction protecting his ass now?
That's where everybody should have known he was full of shit at that point.
I didn't even know his name was Michael.
When they look, how do you sell sovereign citizenship? How as an individual with no power, representing no nation, representing nothing but himself, how do you sell sovereign citizenship? How do you do that? Do you know what sovereign citizenship is and how it's gained? You got to whoop some ass to get sovereign citizenship. It has to be recognized. You have to have power behind that. That's how it's recognized by other nations so they can respect it and respect your sovereignty. You can't buy stuff. That's how he made a lot of money over the years. People buying that and other stuff from him. It wasn't because he was out there doing stuff. It was people buying the stuff that you can't sell. How many conversations we had about this over the years, man?
Oh yeah, because the sovereign citizenship movement for a long time was my flag of attack. Like that was my personal campaign in this Black Power stuff. Like I had taken it upon myself for years to end that movement because for a period of time, not only was it stupid, but it was also dangerous because it was causing Black people to put themselves in harm's way over foolishness. Just, I mean, and it was pretty big. Let's not forget, an arm of this movement is what caused Wesley Snipes to end up getting locked up.
I found out that's some of the reason or the whole reason why Mos Def got jammed up in South Africa behind this sovereignty stuff.
Right. This movement got to be pretty widespread, but Polight is a scammer.
Right.
Like, let's not forget his claim to fame was writing 70 books in a year.
Yeah. And all plagiarized, allegedly plagiarized books.
Right.
Because literally clip and paste. This is the type of stuff that this like shit like this is one of the reasons why I've gone back from so many of these particular movements, so many of these organizations, and so many of these people who identify as liberators and this, that, and the other. Because for the most part, I have not seen the action towards liberation. I've seen personal validation. I've seen people who want that public attention. I've seen people who want the notoriety but I have not seen anybody using any of these movements to build independence or liberty for black people. I haven't seen it. And we put the whole film together about liberating, literally step by step. You follow the film, shit, we be good.
Cuz PC, what that lady told you about nation building? What she said?
Oh shit.
Ain't no money in nation building.
Ain't no money in nation building.
Ain't no money in nation building. Everybody knows that, but they dumb because it actually is. But the way we're going about it, the way we are conditioned, the way we behave, yes, it's not none because it's money that's not aggregated together. Like we have too many small pockets. If we're talking about true nation building, the small pockets won't get it. So I mean, but that's where we are now. But one of the reasons why we're at this place is because people are following things like this. They following stuff like this. Him, Umar, Nature Boy, and and let me not put Umar in the same category. I'm not putting Umar in no SA categories. I'm not putting that, but I'm just saying the influencer, the person who's out there. People listen to him. People listen to these people, but we're also talking about people whose their flaws and their bad behaviors and their negative behaviors and how it negatively affects the community is out there and everybody knows, and it keeps happening.
Yeah, that's the tragedy in all of this, is that it gives the implication that we like being pimped, and if the pimp ain't talking to us, then we don't hear what you're saying. And so the pimp and the pastor breaks spirit up, but the pimp will get more out of you, and have you in love with pimp. And what you're seeing is that people who identify, or people who talk to black people like pimps, get the following. If you're earnest and you're talking from a passionate perspective, and you're actually talking about work that needs to be done, and you're actually organized, you're not going to get no help from those from the majority of our people, because our people like to believe in dreams, and they like to believe in anything that doesn't manifest in the hard work. And so when you sell somebody a vision, hey, I can own that house and I don't have to pay any money. I just have to sign this document form and I can claim it. Okay.
Yeah.
I can own this car and I don't have to have insurance. I don't even have to have license plates or nothing like that. I mean, that's what that young sister in Baltimore, that was one of the things that got her in trouble to begin with the police. When they eventually broke into her apartment and shot her and tried to kill her 4-year-old child, I believe.
Corinne Goins.
It was the reason why she had a warrant was based on the car stop. So it's a sad state of affairs when you can understand that if people have been beaten so bad that when you can offer them, when you can lie to them about what heaven looks like on earth, and you could practically sell them the carbon copy or whatever it is, even though it's a fraud. It's a sad state of affairs that people buy it. But it's an even bigger sad state of affairs that you have people out here who know that black people are in this fragile mental place, and they will take advantage of that.
After what happened with Malachi Z. York, we should have been vetting people better.
And don't make no mistake. Polight is of the Malachi York.
Once again, that's why I said that. People should have been vetted better. But it like you said, he appealed to the appeal he had, it touched him, and people loved the way he talking. He was so brilliant. This, and at one point saying he's like the smartest man alive and all these different things. And It's just the showmanship. But then you notice the change in how he was presenting himself in the mission and everything, because in the beginning it was about the information, or presented to be about the information. Then when he started getting money, he became the advisor to the celebrity, financial advisor to the celebrities and stuff like that. But yeah, bro, you getting your money though off of selling sovereign citizenship and other stuff like that. Once again, anybody who brought sovereign citizenship, hey, hey, hey.
Well, you live in a country that doesn't respect sovereign countries. So why would you expect them to respect sovereign citizenship? Like, as a person, you walk around like your own country. You're walking around, you're your own diplomat. You have diplomatic immunity to the laws and stuff, which we see is bullshit. Because I don't know how many Moors I've seen in prison and literally, tried to talk that status correction shit in front of a judge and have a judge literally say, listen, if you ain't gonna, we're gonna find you in contempt of court in the process of them actually serving time. Like, this stuff is ridiculous when you listen to all of these philosophical philosophical avenues and policies and treaties and all this other stuff. And the treat, like you said earlier, Joe, you got to have power to enforce all these different things. And you don't have power. The person that's writing the treaty is going to break the treaty anyway, because it's about force, a show of force, and you don't have anything to resist that force. And like I said before, the game that's being played, the confidence game that's being played, is probably the biggest part, because it's like it's almost a blueprint in how to fool people and how to get people. And all you have to do is find broken people. And when you find a bunch of broken people, they're easy to manipulate and take advantage of. And too many of our people are broken. And it because you look at Polight, he could have been another Jim Jones if he wasn't stopped. Because it's the same type of charismatic leadership.
Nature boy.
Right. He could have been Branch Davidians. But he had 14 wives at the time he was locked up.
But damn, like, one community can't be so susceptible to so many scams at one time.
Shit.
God damn. No, and I know I'm saying that, but no, but that's the reality of what has happened. Was the remnants of what's happening is the conscious people, the awakened people, the people who's supposed to know better and be doing better. These are the people who are being scammed by multiple people in multiple ways at one time.
Joe, I told you 2 weeks ago, all these cats need a diagnosis. All these people should be sitting on somebody's couch, and there should be a prescription pad for a lot of these cats, because when you got to really think about a rebellious spirit that and many people have, not a spirit of liberation, but a rebellious spirit. A lot of that comes from being socially rejected in a lot of different places. And you're looking for acceptance somewhere. So all somebody has to do is make you feel accepted and warm. Like I said, you go back to the pimp. A pimp can't go into a house where a person, man or woman, is whole. They have to find the broken pieces of somebody and mend them back in the way, mend them together in a way that makes them presentable and makes them feel loved and makes them feel invested in. That's a pimp. And I'm gonna tell you, being in those rooms and listening to Polight talk back then, I can't speak for now, but back then, he was a hell of a snake oil salesman. Back then.
Look,
and see, here's the thing, right? There's a real tricky craft when you feed people and you're giving them feel good information. And when Polight would pull up to Philly, they would have a whole spread. They would have a whole spread set out. So you sitting there, the food smells good as hell. It's actually real good food. I ain't gonna hold you. Real good vegan food. But and you eating and listening to that, your belly's getting filled and warm and this, that. It's a game that's played. and it's a game that's played. This is what made, and not to even put it on this level, but this is what made when you can actually feed the people and then pour into them. That's what made the Panthers America's most wanted. That's what made them the top threat to America when they were feeding children and filling them with revolutionary rhetoric. Not rhetoric in a bad way, but just I'm saying rhetorically infusing them, the children with positive vibes or messages of power and self-empowerment. That's what made them dangerous. And you can take that same model, and people have taken that same model and put it in, right, and so that's exactly what happened. I remember having a conversation with a brother that was in that circle. I ain't gonna mention his name. I said, bro, with all this black consciousness going on, how come the black community hasn't gotten out of this condition, hasn't been put in a better place, in a better position? And he said, because people profit off of black people being broken. So why would you fix something in which you would not be able to pull anything from when you can continue to mine this particular predicament that black people are in? And so that's why you don't see any change. Yeah, bruh.
Shots fired at everybody tonight.
They all can get this.
Pat, what you got? What you got to say, man? Before I say something else.
No, I mean, I'm trying not to get you demonetized. Because look, this really is one of them conversations where we need to get black people in a room or at least on a platform where we can just be real. Like, can we just be real with y'all motherfuckers for a moment? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're retarded. There's no other way around it. There's no other way around. Like, you look at it, right? Like, we know, and this is the funny part, right? When you talk to these people, when you talk to these individuals that claim to be conscious, right? They can explain to you how the culture is set up so that black people will destroy each other, so that black people will cannibalize each other, so that white people don't have to do anything anymore because black people will do it for them. There are so many individuals that understand that. But then when these individuals group together, it's like the more of them you put, it's like the opposite of AI, right? It's the opposite of artificial intelligence and machinery. With processors and machinery, the more processing units you put together, the smarter the whole becomes. With black people, the more individuals you put in a group, the dumber the group gets. Like, what is happening? Like, that is some brilliant shit they did to prevent us from ever grouping together to fight back, because they're like, you know how we stop them niggas from being positive, self-fulfilling black people? We program them so that the more of them they get together, the more violent, the more aggressive, and most importantly, because they might learn to control their violence and aggression, and many of us have, but the stupider they get. This absolute and
Dumb them down on purpose.
And there's no bottom to it, right? There's no bottom. Because at some point, hold on, Joe, you asked me what I thought. You might as well.
I'm ad-libbing.
Yeah.
I'm ad-libbing.
There's no bottom to it, bro. Like, at some point, you'll be like, okay, at some point, our individual intelligence has to prevent the floor from falling out. Okay, if 100 is the average intelligence for the age of the person, right? We're going to say that, right? Okay, so we get us together. You get 10 of us together. The IQ of everybody in the group dropped to 95. 20, it dropped to 90, right? 40, it dropped to 80. At this point, you're like, okay, at some point, there's going to be a lower limit to where it dropped. But this is where the superpower of black people comes in, our special adaptability. We adapt to our own detriment. So now where normally we would say, all right, we get it. We not gonna let y'all keep dumbing us down. We'd be like, yay, stupid. Let's get stupider. So, now it's like if you just keep adding black people to the pool, we literally just keep getting dumber and dumber, and
Yeah.
to the point where now a man, right, will be in a situation where they found his fluids on the clothes of a minor, and there is a sizable population of people that will contort themselves intellectually to make that okay. And these people are parents.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, R. Kelly fans.
Right? And not right, like you go down it, because Malachi York still has a huge following. R. Kelly could drop an album right now and solve a good chunk of his money problems. Brother Polight, all he got to do is pretend to write another book. Like,
Bruh.
what is happening?
I'm laughing because I've literally been in the room and I've seen that actual thing happen. And I've seen I've literally seen like the momentum gather behind the dumb. It's like the more dumb the conversation gets, the more energy is poured into it. This shit is insane. But I've seen it, so that's why I was laughing. So I don't want y'all to think that I think this is funny. I'm laughing because I'm visualizing the times I've been in the room and seen that happen.
Here's the fucked up part. It is funny in all ways to the individual. It only gets insulting when you get into a group of the proper size that your IQ drops low enough that you're no longer able to understand what's going on, but
That's what
still
we act
remains
like.
high enough that you're not insulted by it.
Bro,
Hey, that's that. I mean, but look at we've been, like you're saying, we've been purposely dumbed down. Everything is on autopilot right now. You know, I'm gonna keep saying, I've always said that niggas were made to be destructive. This is nigga behavior. No matter how it's presented, no matter how it sounds, you got to look at the actual actions and outcomes. That's what we got to start looking at: actions and outcomes. What are these people's actions? Believe these people's actions. If this person keep getting caught up in bullshit, well, they might be a bullshit person. I mean, like, bullshit don't just fall out the sky.
bro,
You know, especially like if it keeps happening, like it keeps happening.
it
Come on
makes you
now.
wonder because COINTELPRO was like really set up like that, where they would basically use agents of disinformation and they would put them in the places and to purposefully disrupt any sort of meaningful gathering of black intellectuals and so forth. And now we're finding out, we don't know who could have. But after a while, I think, like Pat said, I think this is one of those situations where the shit is on autopilot now. And it's funny because when you talk about this, I thought about a quote from Men in Black, and it was when Will Smith and I forget the dude's name was sitting on the bench, and Will Smith was trying to convince dude that we should tell people about aliens. And he said, well, he said a person is smart, but people are dumb. And that's kind of where I see a lot of this stuff going on, because when you get people, nobody wants to be the outlier to say, "Oh, this is stupid." Nobody wants to be that person,
Groupthink.
right? So, and they've done many experiments, like burning room experiments, where people, if they're not the first person to get up, if it's up to them, they'll get torched in the fire because they don't want to be the first person to get up and acknowledge the fact that the room next door is on fire. So, but I just feel like at this point, I don't know, man. Have these Negroes given up? And I think a lot of them have.
Remember when Barack Obama, a lot of people was mad at him because he was talking about taking away people's ability to think independently, because people have proven that when you give people the ability to think for themselves, they make bad decisions. And but and this is this is once again, like I said in the beginning, this is another bad blow to Black people, but also this conscious community.
And Black men. Let's keep in mind.
Yes, definitely Black men. Definitely Black men.
We don't need no help looking bad, bruh.
Right. We don't need help looking bad, but this stuff right here, it's a continued tarnishment of the legacy. It goes back to, well, we told you in Birth of a Nation this is how they behave. We told you in 1913 that this is how these Negroes behave. We showed you in the movie that this is how these Negroes behave. Like you said, the stereotypes have become true. Black people have lived up to the stereotypes and even beyond them. Why waste your money on COINTELPRO when you can send Sexy Red out there and make a song, Booty Hole Brown? You can have them dancing to chopper this, chopper that. You have the murder rate in Atlanta went down 35% when they locked up Young Thug Gang. Like why would I waste my money on COINTELPRO or any other kind of intelligence? Hey man, we just need one person to go in. Hey, matter of fact, we don't even need nobody. Hey, record execs. He go a little money, man. Go ahead and create another fool. Hey, you brother right here. Hey, go ahead. You want to be famous? You want to be conscious, or you want to be famous? Which one you want to be? Here goes something. Here you go. But once again, like you said, PC, people see a vulnerable population and they take advantage of it. It's the nature of humans. And we got to start understanding that. That's what human beings have always done. You have always had good and bad, and bad human beings see vulnerable populations and take advantage of them.
Yeah. And that, going back to what you said about like the singers and things that nature, you gotta recognize who's been promoted. Drill rap wouldn't have never took off in America if Chief Keef didn't receive a $5 million record deal right after being implicated and being accessory to a murder. This girl, Sexy Red, nobody even knows where she came from. True, she's been out for years, but now all of a sudden she's meeting with the owner of the New York Jets prior to the first game. Right.
You can have
Meg Thee Stallion throwing out the first pitch of the Houston Astros baseball season. I mean, they don't have to be on the back page with it or to be working. It's funny when I think about this. I think about Undercover Brother, right? Yeah, they put it in the chicken. Maybe we need to find out what they're putting in the goddamn chicken.
Undercover Brother, Black Dynamite, they clone Tyrone.
Bruh, it's so many different ways to say, man, we have really put you Negroes in a place right now where psychologically you can't get out. And every time we feel like we're making progress, you always see this new invention of fuckery. Excuse the language, to probably keep that out. That comes out when we start moving people and having Black folk carry themselves in a dignified manner, where integrity sort of starts to take hold of the people's consciousness. Next thing you know, there's this next rambling, bumbling fool that just comes out of nowhere. I mean, look at where's this? They got this chick Princella. Like, where is this coming? Like, where do they come from? Cross fights on every damn thing. Like, where do they come from?
People are so starved. Black people, period, are so starved for something that we're taking anything and we're allowing anybody to influence us, no matter the character of the person. No matter, that's it. And this is Black people as a whole. Like, the person can have no type of substance about them at all, but it looks good, it sounds good, it feels good, but we can't tell you what this person actually does. But you know what they said touched my soul though. I'm still in the same position I've been in, but what they said touched my soul.
Do as thou wilt, be the whole of the law. That was a quote from Aleister Crowley, a known Satanist who has influenced our culture more than we'd like to admit. The whole fact of the matter that we don't like rules, we don't like boundaries. The whole fact of the matter is that when we start talking about protection and things of that nature, there's a big pushback. Don't police me. Don't do this. Don't do that. But yet still these things are put in place to maintain your safety. I promise you this. If we would have had those boundaries in place, the light wouldn't have been nowhere with a 14-year-old girl 2-3 o'clock in the morning and she show up with fluid on her dress.
I can do you one better. If we would have had the boundaries in place, he wouldn't have had a platform.
Thank you. And see, that's what we need to, start really focusing on and talking about in regards to all of this. Is the fact of the matter is culture matters, codes matter, codified behaviors matter, obedience to the culture matters. Safeguards put in place by the culture matters, but the culture has to be one of proliferation, not one of not one of YOLO. I do what I want, but that only needs your assistance to protection when I get in trouble. Because the predators, if we just go to the animal kingdom for a second, predators will seek out the weakest amongst the prey.
Right.
The most unprotected amongst the prey. Now, if you happen to be a herd of buffalo, lions don't just walk up on the buffalo. They sort of seize an opportunity to get one buffalo away from the rest. Now, the code of the buffalo is if one of us get caught, we back at it. And they have killed a lot of lions. When they see lion cubs, they kill lion cubs. Now, but if you happen to be deer or you happen to be an antelope, y'all don't function like that. So when one of y'all get caught, the rest of y'all try to still get away. And we have a lot of antelope and sheep amongst us that don't want the protection of the shepherd, don't want the code of being in the herd and following. They have a hive mindset, but don't understand the rules of engagement when it comes to protecting ourselves from the predator. And that's one of the biggest issues we have here. We had a wolf in sheep's clothing carrying a baby sheep all around, and the baby sheep allegedly got violated by the wolf because the wolf did what wolves do.
I agree with all of that. I think we are doing a disservice to sheep, though.
She's like, don't disrespect me like that.
Yeah, like, because at least with sheep, the wolf have to sneak.
We offering ourselves up.
Right. To make the analogy more appropriate for black people in America, we are sheep in wolf's clothing, walking around pretending to be wolves in a wolf environment filled with wolves that know that we sheep. And we're so desperate to prove to the wolf that we are a wolf too, that we using our teeth that's not even designed to eat meat to try to eat each other. The whole situation is backwards.
I give you a better analogy. Y'all ever been to them amusement parks? And they got the amusement parks where the fish are used to being fed by the people. Mm-hmm. And so this is the only place where you will see fish going toward the people and having their mouths wide open and wanting the people to throw it in there and just begging for it because fish in their natural habitat do not come up to the edge looking for the food like that. If you throw some food out there, they say they get it and run, but these fish ain't even running. They just with the mouths wide open. That's black people. The mouths wide open, willing to be fed the bull that's coming from the charlatans' mouths.
And this is where we have to like really be honest about about a lot of what's going on because there is no conscious community. You have aware people, and but it goes back to the analogy we had. As soon as those aware people group together, they become an unconscious mass. And I have yet to see a group of more than 4 or 5 people that can maintain consciousness in that group. I've yet to see it. We can have these discussion panels where it's 5 people, 6 people, hell, maybe even 10 people, and we talking and making good sense. As soon as we try to expand that to include the larger group that's needed to do work, it blows up. Yeah, every single time. And so we're left in this space where the few people are trapped trying to do the work of many, but then the many don't even want to, like, you think about like the motivational industry, right? The whole industry is built on feeling good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that industry is largely popped up by women, right? I want to see the numbers because I wonder if it's black women in particular. But that's beyond the point. That's beside the point. That's something just popped in my head. But the problem we have in here is that black people come into these spaces and the focus, the goal is not to do things that actually improve the black community. The goal is to do things to make them feel good as individuals. And that's where we're running into problems. And here's the other thing, right? Black people, we as a community have incurred a debt. Not us, although we have as adults. Our parents, all of those people that partied and enjoyed life and pretended like it was a game in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, in the 2010s. They incurred a debt. All of that partying and hot girl summer and black magic and they didn't do any work. So now we have to work. These next generations don't get to have fun because their parents had all their fun. They got to work to pay back that debt. And that's the part that we're missing too. Every single moment you spend partying, and I understand partying is necessary. You need to relieve stress. Self-care is important. But every moment you spend partying that's above and beyond what is healthy for you has to be paid back by moments in the future where you can no longer party. That's what debt is. You're leveraging your future for present glory. Our future has been leveraged. So at what point do we as a people say, okay, we got a debt to pay? That means we can't hot girl summer for 30 years. We can't black man hot boy summer for 30 years. Yeah, we can't rack on rack. We can't bust it open for 30, 40 years. We got to pay that back. When do we come to that realization?
We are, and I know that's a rhetorical question, but I'm just saying this as a mass, we're not coming to that realization. Even in some of the critical mass, it's not coming to that realization because the critical masses are being preyed upon. The critical masses are falling for the con games. Matter of fact, the critical masses are signing up for the con games. And we have to be real about the people that we choose to give our allegiance to, the people that we choose to follow, the people that we choose to call leaders. Stop calling people leaders who can't give any tangible results. If the person making you feel good, they're probably not a good leader. A leader is supposed to challenge you. A leader is supposed to challenge you. It's not about you feeling good. It's about your overall improvement. And overall improvement, hey, it's going to be some uncomfortable spots. It might be a whole lot of uncomfortable. But that's what it takes to change, to grow. It's the metamorphosis process. We're regression. If you're black in America, we're under this spell. Well, let me not say that because I don't want to say that. We have been programmed to be crazy as hell, and damn it, we're taking that to the next level.
No, Joe, you were right. We're under a spell. We are
It
under a
sounded like a
spell.
cop out. It just felt like a cop out.
No, I'm just saying, program is real. The spell. Listen, we don't have this. It seems like we don't have the strength to break the curse. The curse is breaking the curse is about action. We are fortifying generational curses that get worse, progressively worse for each generation. And what you were saying earlier about our regression, that's straight out of Dr. Amos Wilson's book.
Mm-hmm.
We are regressing as a people, and at the worst possible time to regress. As the society is collapsing around us, we're not even solidified for our own proliferation.
We're not even aware.
And then we have this savior complex. So a person like a Polight can walk in the room, and then we'll just put it all in their hand, because we're going to give them not just savior, we're going to treat them like a god, and therefore our fate is in their hands. Right. And it's really a cowardly way to live, because what it really speaks to is the fact that, forget accountability for a second, we don't even want to be in a position where we can be accountable for our own outcomes, collectively or individually. So,
Hey, once again, Polight's character should have been in question a long time ago. But the people were susceptible to the tomfoolery. When the brother came out selling, because that's when my attention was really caught. I don't know nothing about before that, but my attention was really caught, and I seen him selling sovereign citizenship, and I'm sitting there scratching my head like, what? And people are buying this. But yeah, people are buying into it, because you can watch hours and hours and hours of videos of people being pulled over by the cops and having their whole lives turned upside down because they really believe in some sovereign citizenship stuff. Laws, yeah, because the laws of the land don't exist. I, as an individual powerless person, can enforce my sovereign citizenship, and you have to obey this, because I, as an individual with no power, are going to make you obey it. All right.
Sound about right.
Cool.
And let's address this. I know we've touched on it. I just want to touch on it again.
Bring it home.
This is about the sovereign citizenship shit, so it might not be bringing it home.
No, what shit? Go in. That's what I mean. Go in then.
Look. If you were dumb enough to think that you can file some paperwork for your sovereignty with a government, with the government, right? If you were dumb enough to believe that there is a form that you can file with the government that is going to have them recognize you as an independent entity from the I want to say it one more time for the stupid people in the back, because it might be some of y'all listening to this as a group. If you are dumb enough to believe that there is a form that you can file with the government that will make you your own independent and sovereign nation,
you owe me $1 million.
Like, what the fuck? Like, are you like, if that's the case, why do wars happen to begin? America should have just filed Form 7905 with Great Britain and been done with the shit. Why was there a war? Like, why is Ukraine fighting a war with Russia right now? Russia should have just filed Form 7903 with the Ukrainian government. What the y'all better stop playing with me, man. Y'all better stop fucking playing with me. Yeah. You know what? I'm going on mute, because y'all ain't finna have my
Nah. Hey man, but this is how we got here. This is how we got here, because people believe in crazy stuff like that. This is how we got here. This is how this cat continued to have a platform, right? And so with this cat having this platform, this influence, and all these different things, he got all these people following him, and this leads to he has these allegations, these alleged allegations over him, and the people are like, we're going to support this cat because this and because of that. And when they telling you they got DNA, and you have no way to prove that the DNA don't exist, you have no way to prove that. Now, of course, we got to wait till all the evidence come out. But for right now, they're saying this is the evidence that they got. And then people are like, well, I'm so in love with this guy that I have to stand by him. They're trying to railroad another black man. Are they? Or did this black man already railroad himself after he railroaded you in your pockets?
Look, man, and let's address that real quick. Because even if this does come out to be a whatever, I'm still going back to one. The brother's he's still a scam artist.
Yes, that was way before this. He'd been a scam before this.
That don't change none of that. And two, how do you put yourself in a situation where this story is even plausible? One thing they will never be able to say about me is that I was out at 2 a.m. with a minor in a club drinking alcohol or in a hotel room and weird stuff. What?
Bruh. Hold on, man.
What? Like, thank you. Like, remove the fluid, because you can say, well, they planted the fluid. Okay, did they plant the minor too?
Where the hell? Hold on, man. Unless they have access to a sperm bank where he's been deposited, where the hell are they gonna get seminal fluid from?
I'm just accounting for the arguments that people make. That's all I'm doing.
The lady saved it. The lady saved it and used it for the investigation.
14-year-olds be stalkering out here. She might have went through her mama's toilet before she flushed it after they had sex one night. Or like, I don't know, whatever dumb story that dumb people can concoct to support their stupidity is, because look, I'm not even holding back no more on y'all. Like, y'all are stupid. And I think the first step to addressing the problem is acknowledging that there is a problem. And so we have to acknowledge that a large portion of y'all are fucking stupid. You're stupid. That should be the title of the show. You're fucking stupid. I'm sorry. What were you saying, PC?
It was like one of the 4 stages of denial.
But people got to do better. Come on, like, for real, people. You got to do better. You got to make better decisions. You got to think better. You got to develop critical thinking. You got to have discernment. Stop just going off of feeling and sound good. Come on now. Come on, people. That's the only reason a guy like this continue to have a platform.
And listen, I don't just blame him. I blame his harem. Because everybody took part in the con. And everybody that was there, for the publicity, everybody that was there, for the providing the aesthetic to his lifestyle and the allure of it, you get blamed. You don't get, like, you created an environment which made it dangerous for young girls. You participated. You are an accessory to this in some way, shape, or form. Somewhere, somehow, somebody had this woman believe it was okay for her 14-year-old daughter to disappear with this man. Yeah. There's no getting around that part of the accountability. And everybody involved being a victim.
And the worst part is her, this is somebody she's in a relationship with as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's not thinking about him being a predator. And that's because it also, once again, it hurts the narrative of black men, because you have to be careful as a black man. Like Pat was saying, as a black man, you have to be careful, especially when you're around children. I remember working at a summer camp, and one of the young ladies needed a ride home, and the young campus was like some 14-year-old girl, she needed to ride home, and I was just I refused to take her home without the other adult lady in the car riding with me. Like, look, I know you ain't got nothing to do with this, but I'll take you home. I'll buy you some food or whatever we need to do, but I can't be with this young girl by myself. But it's something that a lot of men should have in the back of their minds, just because of the society that we live in. But you got to cover your bases. You got to make sure you do what you need to do to keep yourself safe, no matter how you make somebody feel about it, no matter if somebody's offended about it or not. I have to do what I have to do to make sure that I'm good. I have to do what I have to do to make sure that no false allegations of things that they come up, because I have to do what's best to protect my reputation. Because once these allegations come up, there's no going back. Because on the flip side, like you said, Pat, if all of this is false, it still ruins his reputation.
He's already been tried and convicted in the court of public opinion. So it's a wrap. And that is, you're absolutely right, Joe. And that's one of the reasons why, when I would have like Saturday morning programs with children, Saturday Freedom School programs with children on my porch, I wouldn't let them in my house. Because I just didn't want none of that. No, especially how society works these days. And I had good, pure intentions, but ladies, this is one of those times where you need to understand what protection looks like.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure I'm not sure, but I would like to hope somebody tried to warn that sister who was actually being courted for marriage at that particular time. I would hope that somebody probably told her this isn't a good look, because for some reason, women like to talk themselves out of seeing the danger that's right around them and right in front of them. And I know this from personally talking to too many women that say, oh, that's not going to happen. Or, oh, he wouldn't do that. Are you fucking crazy? People are literally doing it every day. And you sitting there trying to legitimize in your own mind that this situation ain't dangerous. Walking into the wilderness in this situation ain't dangerous. It's one of the biggest reasons as to why we keep finding people who are able to take advantage of children, more specifically in vulnerable situations.
I always hate these type of situations, because no matter the outcome, it's not overall good for the community. Because if it's true, that's horrible. If it's false, that's horrible. That's why I hate these, because it's really a lose-lose for Black people. It's a lose-lose for any community that it's a part of, because once again, if it's true, it's horrible, and if it's false, it's horrible. So
yeah.
And so, you want to say, I hope it's not true, but then like, damn, you got a mother and a daughter out here lying on people. If I say that, you know what I'm saying? So it's one of those, we're not saying he's guilty. We're not saying he's innocent. We're reacting and we're breaking down the information that's available.
I mean, if he's innocent, we can come back and talk about that too. But that, right,
once again, we're not taking back nothing we said about him being a scammer. We're not taking back nothing we said about anything prior to this case, because that's how we've been feeling about Polight. We've been feeling like he's a scammer. We've been feeling that the sovereign citizenship stuff is crazy and stuff. So we ain't saying nothing we need to take back anyway. But I'm just letting you know the sovereign citizenship stuff and everything before that, we meant that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any last words, gentlemen?
All my single ladies, put your hands up.
Hey man, shout out to Patrick's trainer for leg day. So.
Oh, you know it, brother.
Hey,
you know
man.
it, brother. Hey.
Well, holla at y'all, man. Holla at y'all. Joseph Ward, Professor Carl, Tone Jones, Patrick Irvin. Hey, man, for some people too, if you want to reach out, if you want to connect, email ontheshoulders1@gmail.com. Same as the website, ontheshoulders1@gmail.com. If you want to connect, make sure you reach out. FetLifeStation.com, FetLifeStation.com, FetLifeStation.com. Holla at us.